Hi, this is Father Carr. In today's gospel, we're looking at some powerful teachings that unfortunately are often misunderstood. One of them is the powerful hyperbole Jesus uses when he says it is better for you to pluck out your eye than to sin. I'm going to tell you right now, Jesus does not want you to pluck out your eye. Here's the reason I can tell you that. There is a famous father of the church, one of the most powerful early leaders of the church, very powerful teacher and writer and everything else, who in fact took that gospel very seriously. It's not his eye he removed, it was another part of his anatomy. And for that reason, he is not a saint in the church. You may never have heard of him. I'm not going to mention his name. You may never have heard of him for that reason. He is not a saint of the church. It is not church teaching that you should be plucking out your eye. But it is church teaching that you realize Jesus' hyperbole, how much you should seek to avoid sin. At the same time, he makes his statement against anger, which often is also misunderstood. So someone is angered justly, and they go to confession because, Father, I got angry because someone punched me in the face. Well, you should have got angry because someone punched you in the face. Anger is an emotion. It's what you do with it that enters the realm of sin. So if someone punches you in your face, obviously you should react in one way or another. And not necessarily punch him back in the face, but obviously you're going to get angry. That's part of being human. It's what you do with that anger that becomes the issue. And if we want to understand where Jesus is really going with this, we can actually look at two of his followers, Peter and Paul. Paul obviously was not 3 years with Jesus like Peter was, but both of them have exactly the same teaching. And what's interesting is they had tension when they were together. We know that. But we also know that they taught and spread the gospel in two totally different communities. Paul to the Gentiles, Peter to the Jews. Yet, when it comes to this teaching on anger, they both say virtually the same thing. And this is why it's important. What both of them say is that if you get angry, you're going to get angry. But if you hold on to this anger, you use this anger, you don't forgive, you just harbor grudges, you have opened yourself up to the demonic. Both of them tell you that. Paul says that your unresolved anger becomes a tool for the devil, for him to get a hold of you. Peter is even more dramatic. He says, the words he uses describe your anger as kind of like bait, that the devil, who is like a roaring lion, looks around the world, roams the world looking to devour souls, and will be drawn right to you through your anger. So in fact, what both of them tell you is your anger is an opening to the demonic. That's not a secret just in the Bible. Many community organizers use that exact principle to manipulate people to do what they want. That's very powerful teaching. In fact, many of you are familiar with the book Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky, the book, it praises the devil, even though he was an atheist. It praises the devil. And many people don't realize this book teaches you how to emulate the devil. It's even taught in an Ivy League school of divinity, believe it or not, and teaches you how to emulate the devil. And when people learn principles like this, then they learn that same principle. Oh, this is what the devil would do. And what they learn is this process where you can manipulate people through their emotions. It's a very powerful teaching, and that's what the devil does. That's why Jesus says, be careful of anger, because it is a way for the devil to grab a hold of you and just consume your soul, as Peter says. So that's where we are. So how do we respond to anger? It's very simple. What we do is we bring our anger to Jesus. It's not a sin for you to get angry because someone punched you in the face. But it is a sin for you to decide that you're going to take revenge on that person. It is a sin for you to decide to commit violence against that person. It's a sin for you to refuse to forgive that person if he comes to you asking for forgiveness. All of these things are sins. That's what you bring to the confessional. And you bring also your feelings, even the just feeling of anger. You bring these into prayer and say, Lord, I have been deeply hurt. Maybe the anger that you're experiencing is a result of unresolved anger from people before you, from your parents, even your grandparents, affecting how you live your life. We don't love those people. Those people are not the kind of people we love in our neighborhood. Maybe that you were taught that as a child. That's that unjust anger that affected you. So you want to allow yourself to let go of that anger. You need to bring this to the Lord. You need to bring this to confession that you may be healed of the effects of that anger. Jesus then brings in lust. Pick up a newspaper sometime, and there you will read the words of someone read the story of someone maybe who committed a very serious sex crime. And you look at that, and you need to understand that that didn't begin all of a sudden. That began weeks, months, maybe in years before, where the person opened themselves up to unbridled lust. Maybe it was through pornography. Maybe it was through some other source. And eventually that grew until the point where the person ended up being consumed to the point that committed a very serious crime of passion, of sexual passion, and will end up in prison for a long time. That's very real. And that's also what Jesus warns against. It's another opening to the demonic, and it's an opening to sin. That's why we bring these things to confession, that we offer these up to the Lord, that the Lord may bring the healing, that we may end up with the healing that we need so that we may better serve the Lord. Remember, one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is self-control. And we just that doesn't just grow on trees. We go to the Lord, and through our growing relationship with God, we end up able to grow in self-control in our service in love of God. So when we look at these things, we can see this is what Jesus is telling us. Be careful of unbridled passion, because it will destroy you. The devil will use it to destroy you. But don't get caught up in the other way, saying that I have complete control over my anger. Those are the kind of people you find up in newspapers who end up shooting a whole town because one day they didn't have control over all of this pent-up anger. We need to understand the teaching of anger. We need to understand how the sacrament of reconciliation and all our prayers and our union with the church helps us to deal with anger. But we also have to understand that anger unbridled, lust unbridled, greed unbridled, whatever the case may be, all of it is a form of opening to the demonic that is a destructive force. Let us ask the Lord to heal us of everything that leaves that little door, that crack, whatever the case may be, open so that the devil may touch us. No, we don't want that. Ask the Lord to heal those cracks and those openings through our emotions that we may come to seek Him. God bless you.